In the dance of human interaction, there's a fundamental truth that many overlook. The less you give, the more they chase. This principle, this law of emptiness, is grounded in psychology, rooted in centuries of human behavior that govern desire, validation, and scarcity. The law works because, at our core, we are wired to pursue what we cannot have, to covet that which is scarce. Think about it. When was the last time you truly wanted something that was laid out in front of you, easy to take? Never. That desire only burns when the object of your desire is distant, elusive, and hard to get. This principle operates on the psychology of scarcity. You know this from experience. Think about the times you've seen something rare, whether it's a limited edition sneaker, a rare vintage watch, or a coveted promotion at work. The more inaccessible something is, the more you find yourself fixated on it. Scarcity makes something valuable. Absence too has power. The same applies to human relationships. The more you withhold, the more people will chase. This isn't about manipulation or cruelty. It's about understanding how humans respond to unavailability, how our need for recognition and validation feeds the chase. Consider a scenario. A man is well established, confident, and seemingly uninterested in others' approval. People notice him, respect him, and, most importantly, want his attention. Why? Because he doesn't give it freely. He doesn't chase after validation or cater to others' expectations. This man doesn't indulge the crowd, doesn't live his life to appease others. He creates value by making himself scarce. The less he offers, the more they pursue. In a world of constant oversharing, constant availability, and constant validation seeking, scarcity becomes an even greater power. When you withhold your energy, your attention, your time, people become drawn to you like moths to a flame. But this is no ordinary chase. It's one built on the perception that you hold something they cannot have. And now, they must work for it. At the deepest level, the principle of withholding plays into a natural human urge, the need for validation. We are social creatures. Our worth has long been validated by those around us, through respect, attention, and affection. But when you remove yourself from the emotional equation and stop handing out these validations like candy, something shifts. People are forced to turn inward and ask themselves, what do I have to do to get their approval? In essence, they are no longer pursuing you. They're pursuing themselves through you. The chase becomes about their own perceived lack of value, and they will invest in any means to prove to themselves they are worthy of your attention. But let's be clear. This isn't about playing games or being emotionally distant for the sake of manipulation. The law of emptiness operates on a deeper, more natural level. When you withhold because you value your time, your energy, and your emotional capital, you are asserting your own self-worth. You are saying, I am not easily earned. You must prove to me that I am worth your effort. This approach, this calculated absence, causes others to reevaluate their own value. And that's where the power lies, not in the chase itself, but in the reframing of their perception of themselves. It's important to understand how the dopamine effect fuels this chase. Dopamine is the chemical in the brain that drives us to seek rewards, to pursue the unknown. The anticipation of something, whether it's love, success, or validation, sends us into a heightened state of desire. This drive becomes more intense when we experience the absence of something. Think about that first hit of excitement when a person doesn't respond immediately to your text. The longer they take, the more you begin to obsess, the more you start questioning what it means about you. The absence, the unavailability, stokes the flames of desire and sends you into overdrive trying to gain access. That's how the law of emptiness works. through absence, through scarcity, and through the psychological drive to chase what is difficult to attain. In the alchemy of lust, you'll be taken deep into the ancient and forgotten discipline of sexual transmutation, a principle once reserved for monks, warriors, kings, and creators. In romantic relationships, this concept plays out in interesting ways. When one person is constantly available, giving away their time, their attention, their emotions, they unknowingly devalue themselves. There is no chase, there is no thrill. But when someone withholds emotionally, only offering pieces of themselves at strategic moments, they create an emotional void. The person on the receiving end starts to question themselves. They begin to wonder, am I enough? Why doesn't this person want me the way I want them? And the more this question festers, the deeper the obsession grows. The emotional investment shifts. They now pursue you, not because you're perfect, not because they are in love, but because your unavailability has sparked a deeper desire, a deeper need to prove themselves worthy of what you hold back. But let's be clear here. It's not that people consciously want to be played or manipulated. It's that they are responding to their natural instincts. Humans are conditioned by biology and culture to chase after what is scarce. The thrill of the chase, the desire to prove worth, the pull of validation. These forces are as old as human civilization itself, and in modern times, with constant social media availability and instant gratification, the absence of something, be it attention, affection, or validation, holds even greater power. So in a world where everyone is constantly giving, constantly offering, constantly seeking, the law of emptiness holds a unique place. To be scarce is to be valuable. To withhold is to wield power. And when you understand this truth, not from a place of manipulation, but from a place of self-worth, you begin to wield an influence over not just the relationships around you, but your own life as well. The more you respect your own time, energy, and value, the more others will chase to earn it. In the end, the law of emptiness doesn't teach us to play games. It teaches us to value ourselves, to understand that our time, attention, and emotions are valuable commodities. The less you give freely, the more others will seek you, not because they are in love with you, but because they are in love with the idea of earning your attention, your respect, and your affection. And that is the power of scarcity. When you withhold, you don't just withhold your presence, you withhold the validation they so desperately seek. Now that we've explored the deep psychological roots of the law of emptiness, let's shift gears and discuss how to practically implement this principle in your life. Because here's the truth. Knowing this principle is one thing, but mastering it is another. You can't just blindly withhold and expect people to chase. It's about setting boundaries, understanding the balance, and using your emotional energy wisely. It's about recognizing that scarcity, when wielded correctly, enhances your value, but misused, it can alienate you. Setting boundaries and protecting your energy. The first step is setting clear emotional boundaries. The human tendency is to overgive, to offer too much of yourself in relationships, both personal and professional, often to the detriment of your own well-being. But when you overextend, you inadvertently lower your value. You give others the message that you're too easy to access, too willing to give everything away. And that's when the chase dies. It's only when you establish boundaries, when you learn to say no, or choose not to respond immediately, that you start to hold power. Think of boundaries like a fortress. They protect your time, your emotional energy, and your peace. If you're constantly available, constantly responsive, you're leaving your gates wide open. But by being selective, by choosing when to engage and when to withdraw, you give yourself control over your interactions. You create space, and when people sense that space, they feel the pull to bridge it. They start chasing because they realize that access to you is not guaranteed. It must be earned. Becoming the pursuer in your own life. The next part of the equation is transforming your mentality. You must stop chasing others and start becoming the one who attracts pursuit. This doesn't mean you should be arrogant or self-absorbed. It means understanding your worth and learning to invest in yourself before anyone else. When you recognize that you are valuable, not because others validate you, but because you know your own worth, that's when the dynamic shifts. By focusing on your own growth, whether it's physical, emotional, intellectual, or spiritual, you naturally become a magnet. You stop seeking validation from others and instead let others come to you. As you elevate yourself, you raise your standards, and suddenly, you're no longer chasing after people to give you their time, affection, or approval. Instead, they're chasing you. Why? Because you've made yourself scarce and valuable through self-improvement. You're no longer an option, you're the prize. And in every interaction, people sense this shift in energy. Utilizing the law of emptiness in relationships. Let's talk about relationships, romantic, professional, and social. In romantic relationships, when you're always available, always giving, it can create a sense of complacency. Your partner may take you for granted, not because they don't care, but because they've come to expect your constant availability. But when you pull back, just a little, when you don't respond to every text immediately, when you create moments of emotional absence, something shifts. They begin to crave that connection again. It's no longer automatic. They start to chase because they have to prove their value to you, and that pursuit keeps the spark alive. In friendships, the same logic applies. If you're always the one who reaches out, always the one making plans, your friendships might feel one-sided. But by pulling back a bit, by giving them space to miss you, you allow the dynamic to balance out. They begin to appreciate your presence more, and your relationship becomes more equal. The key is not to withdraw completely, but to give just enough that others can't take you for granted. And when it comes to your professional life, the law of emptiness is a strategic tool. In business, people often undervalue themselves by constantly offering their expertise or time without consideration of how it impacts their worth. But when you stop overextending, when you make others work to access your knowledge or services, you increase your perceived value. You turn your time and energy into a commodity, one that people must earn. It's not about playing games. It's about positioning yourself as a high-value individual who doesn't just give away knowledge for free. People respect the experts who are selective, who hold back just enough to make others appreciate their value. Handling the emotional toll of withholding. Let's address the emotional side of this principle. Withholding can feel uncomfortable, especially for those who are accustomed to being generous with their time and emotions. You might fear that by holding back, you'll push people away or seem uncaring. But the truth is, it's not about becoming emotionally distant or cold. It's about preserving your energy. It's about ensuring that when you do give, it's because you genuinely want to, not because you feel obligated. The key is finding a balance. Withholding too much can make you seem detached, emotionally unavailable, or even manipulative. But when done right, it's about showing restraint and recognizing that you don't need to give everything all at once. You don't need to be at everyone's beck and call. You need to be selective, deliberate, and strategic in how you share your time and energy. And when you do, people will begin to see your worth. They'll chase, not because they want to use you, but because they want to earn a piece of the value you've created for yourself. Practical examples and case studies. Let's look at a few examples. Think about successful entrepreneurs who don't give away their time easily. They have gatekeepers, filters, and strict schedules. People have to jump through hoops to gain access. But this scarcity creates value. When someone finally does get that meeting, they understand how rare and important it is. The same goes for celebrities, influencers, or high-level professionals. They don't make themselves available to everyone because they understand their value. They make others chase, not for the sake of ego, but because scarcity raises their worth in the eyes of others. You don't have to be a CEO or a celebrity to apply the law of emptiness in your life. You can start today by simply taking control of your time, your energy, and your emotional resources. You can start by being selective in how you show up for others and allowing them the space to miss you. In conclusion, the law of emptiness is not about playing games or being emotionally unavailable for the sake of manipulation. It's about understanding your own worth and using that understanding to create balance in your relationships and interactions. By giving less, you naturally become more valuable to others. But it's crucial to remember that this principle is rooted in self-respect. You withhold not because you're trying to control or hurt others, but because you understand that your time, energy, and emotional resources are precious. Thus remember, we are in Deceptor. Becoming in Deceptor is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war. Welcome to the In Deceptor archive, where the undeceived rise. No ads, no distractions, just pure, uninterrupted power. As a crusader of the archive, you gain infinite access to every video, every truth, every strategy, without censorship, delay, or interruption. New drops daily, delivered to you before the world sees them. Raw, unfiltered, elite. Indeceptions.com